Hey guys, today Kris and I are going to show you how to make two guitar players sound amazing in a band. Hey, what is up guys? My name is Guillaume.
And my name is Kris. Welcome to Thomann's Guitars and Basses.
Woo!
Today is going to be the day where we talk about how to play together in a band. Obviously, there are no rules, so don't listen to us. Have fun.
These are mere suggestions.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, if that works for you, it's, whatever works. But in our general opinion, I think there's certain rules of thumb to make two guitar players and two guitar sounds. Most importantly, work together in a band, in a mix, in a busy sort of context to make sure that everything can be heard, everything can be enjoyed as much as feasibly possible.
Yes. And of course, all of this depends on the style and your taste in guitar tone, because if we're talking about a super brutal metal band and everyone's going to play a humbucker guitar and everyone wants to play a PEV 6505 or the EVH 5150, then it's going to be tough
to apply some of those things.
Yeah, exactly. Like convincing one of the players to choose something else maybe or whatever. There are differences, of course, as told, between a funk band with two guitar players or a classic rock or blues band or a metal band or whatever that styles you're playing in.
Whatever that may be.
Most of these little things we're about to tell you, these little tips, can be sort of considered, maybe even used.
Maybe that video will be useful in the end.
I am not sure, but we'll try to go there. All right, so let's start with the first subject, which is literally the guitar tone. If both players choose a single cut with two humbuckers and play through, Marshall JCM 800.
That's a weird combo to begin with.
Who would ever choose that, right? Let's say both love that sound and want to play that sound. It will sound great, of course, but since the signal chain is identical, you'll have troubles with hearing yourself, and your audience will have troubles with figuring out who's doing what, and it will just not sound very big because you cover the same frequencies with both guitar players' rigs. So what makes sense is to at least choose a different type of guitar. Maybe mini humbuckers or P90s or a Tele or whatever else is Strat for one player to introduce more frequencies and more differences between the two rigs. Or just one uses if it has to be a Marshall, then one a Plexi style and one more of a JCM or whatever else. Of course, the bigger the difference there is in the guitar tones, the fuller the band will sound.
Because you're going to sit different places on the frequency spectrum, and that's also why a lot of studios and a lot of producers will tell you to layer different guitar parts with different guitar sounds, because that help you as a listener sort of figure out, that's the lead guitar, that's the rhythm guitar, or like there's a solo coming in and it's a different, you hear it sometimes even in bands that use very similar rigs in the end, like things like Iron Maiden or something, like there's always going to be something to tell you, that's this guy's part or this guy's part, it's
even if you're using this exact same rig, if one just kicks the mids more and the other doesn't really bother with the mids but puts more treble in, it's gonna change enough already to be able to hear more frequencies and also to differentiate between the two players. I think it's really cool. So as told at the beginning, if it's a technical death metal band and both want to play the same exact amp simulation or amp or whatever, you can still tweak it in ways that the two guitars just don't sound identical. It's going to do good for the mix, and you will hear yourself more because your ears will be able to focus on one of the two guitar sounds. So beneficial.
That's what we're doing today. I've got the Les Paul with the humbuckers. I'm using the Wampler Pantheon Overdrive, which I can boost in front with the Slamurai by all pedals. That's a very like not necessarily scooped sound, but like
A bright
kind of
style.
like bright, meaty kind of thing. While Kris with the single coils and the
Going into the Rev G2,
exactly.
which is a British voice, but not at all like a Marshall kind of crunch tone. And,
it's a very ampy crunch sound, and like even just that, knowing that there's a pedal like that's gonna try to emulate this or that, and like yeah, you had like a broader, I think. I don't really know how to describe it.
Well,
with
we
words.
should not. We should play the same riff. You play it once, I play it once, and then we play it together
Yes.
so that you can hear how this happens. And also, at this point, I think it's really cool to pan our guitars in a way that you can hear on the right side Guillaume and on the left side me. And once we're together, you will hear how wide all of a sudden it sounds. It
Yes.
sounds almost more than the sum of the two guitars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Almost got it.
Moving on. Point number 2, or tip number 2, would be well, it's pretty obvious, but we cannot not mention it. Double tracking, playing the same thing, unison playing, name it whatever you want.
Yes.
It's the most powerful rock slash blues rock slash metal slash metal
Slash.
slash
That slash does it too. That's how you know it's good.
thing that you can do. Just play the same thing. It's gonna be massive, and it's awesome for good riffs, for choruses, etc. It's a big sound, and it's an obvious one.
Which is what we just did, so we can move on to part number 3, which is basically the opposite of what we just did. And it's going to be to play different things, to not necessarily talking about harmonization or anything like very specific, but just to play different parts. And that's something that you'll hear a lot in, obviously, you know, bands with several guitar players, because it's something that's doable on stage. But a lot in the first thing I think of is always like punk and like pop punk and that kind of thing, because you always have the big riff at the bottom, like and the little you know, the those kind of things.
Exactly.
And that's a really good way to have like a heavy guitar at the bottom that's not necessarily overstepping on the bass, and then something that's a little higher and that's going to fill in the gap all the way up
Go
to
up an octave.
the voice and cymbals and whatnot.
You can do the same thing. You can play the exact same thing, just an octave higher, or just go free jazz. And
Free jazz.
Do whatever
Free jazz harmony.
fits the harmony, and just stick to like a one single note that you repeat 1,000 times. That would be like a punk rock thing.
Yeah.
Or take an example of Miles Kennedy in Alter Bridge, where they sometimes play the same thing, Mark and him, but sometimes not at all. And that's what makes so many songs of theirs so interesting, that Miles plays a thing, and then Mark would do like an octave lower, some heavy stuff. You know, it's really cool. Let's try to do something like that.
Yes.
And the fourth tip is about dynamics, which is easy to do if you don't lose.
If you don't lose. It's always easier if you don't lose.
You need to win, that's the key. If you don't use a lot of gain. If you have some like medium gain, low gain, nothing at all, it's the nicest and easiest thing to do is playing dynamics, just by not picking that hard. But as soon as you play like higher gain blues rock, Gary Moore-esque stuff, or rock, or heavy stuff, or brutal metal stuff, it's impossible to play with the dynamics just by changing the playing. What you can do, and has a big effect on the dynamics of the band, is if one of the players stops at certain points of a riff, of a verse, of a chorus, whatever it is. Insert pauses.
The old question and answers.
You can do it like an A, B, or A just plays and B jumps in to make certain parts like
Yeah. Let's do that.
Let's do that. Yeah, of course you can combine all those elements, but these are just little reminders, I guess, in case you didn't think of any of these.
Yeah. It's always good. It's always good. You never know. And if you're just starting in a band and you're with a guitar player and you want to try and either make it more interesting, or you don't really know how that effect is created or whatnot, like there's a bunch of other things that you can do.
Yeah.
These are just like the basics of how to sort of maintain some dynamics or make some parts a bit more interesting or maybe more in your face. Like if you want to sound heavier on that chug without necessarily dropping to B flat, you can do it in E standard and just like make your accent come through differently, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. And obviously these are tips that are most meaningful in a live situation, whether it's a rehearsal, a live gig, whatever, in a studio or when you're recording at home in your home studio. You can, of course, do these tricks and use different tricks and whatever. You can double track a million times. All of those things, you can take care of phase issues much, much better than when you're just playing live.
Yeah.
These are basic tips that we kind of agreed on being the most important for little things that one should keep in mind and test out, at least, even if you end up ignoring them, which you are definitely welcome to do. You guys, take it easy. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed these kind of videos. There's the notification bell.
Yes.
It's pretty useful.
Yes, let us know in the comments what you want to see in the future. And if you did enjoy that kind of concept, we can make more. We have tons of ideas. But in the meantime, take care and we'll see you in the next one.
And meet you down there. Bye-bye.